Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Talks. Do you really think playing by their rules is going to get you anywhere? Are you stuck believing that if you just try hard enough, stay consistent, and always be available, they'll eventually see your worth? Let me tell you something raw and unfiltered. You're living in a fantasy. You're not the star of some romance movie. You think they'll wake up one day and realize you were the one because of how reliable and predictable you are? Wrong. They're fooling you. Predictability is your enemy, and it's killing your attraction right in front of your eyes. Here's the truth. The more they can predict your every move, the less interesting you become. They know when you'll call, what you'll say, and how you'll react like clockwork. It's easy. You made yourself an open book, and guess what? People don't obsess over books they've read 100 times. They shove them, forgotten, ignored. As Epictetus once said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Your predictability hands them control on a silver platter, and the moment they feel in control, they lose respect for you. But when you take that control back, when your actions become unpredictable and beyond their grasp, you become the storm they can't tame and the spark they can't ignore. If they know exactly what's coming next, there's no mystery, no excitement, no pull. That spark you're chasing so desperately, it dies every time you become the person they expect you to be. Predictable behavior leads straight to indifference, and once they start getting comfortable with your availability, they stop valuing you. They stop noticing you. You become background noise in their life, something that's there but never truly felt. But here's where it gets powerful. Being unpredictable changes the game. It shatters the script they've written in their head about you. Suddenly, you're not that easy to read. They start wondering where you are, what you're thinking, and why you didn't do what they expected. That's where the magic begins. They start obsessing. They crave to know more. And this is not manipulation. It's self-mastery. You're not playing games. You're reclaiming your power. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine they text you, and you don't respond. Not immediately. Not with the usual enthusiasm. You disappear from the routine they've grown used to. At first, they might shrug it off. Oh, they're probably busy. But the second text comes, and you still don't respond. Now they're wondering, what happened? Why aren't they acting like they used to? This curiosity, it's the first crack in their sense of control. Unpredictability creates emotional tension. The kind that sticks in their mind and haunts their thoughts. It pulls them in without you lifting a finger. They start chasing the validation they thought they could always get from you for free. You've become a puzzle they can't solve, and that's exactly what makes you so attractive. Here's what nobody tells you. Attraction isn't built through comfort. It's built through tension. It's the uncertainty, the whys, the mind games they play with themselves at 2 a.m., wondering why you're acting different that keep them hooked. When they don't know whether you'll show up or disappear, when your attention becomes a rare currency, they start valuing every second of it. They become obsessed with earning your approval because it's no longer guaranteed. And let me be clear, this isn't about ghosting people for sport or leading anyone on. This is about breaking free from the chains of predictability that have kept you trapped in their convenience zone. It's about giving yourself permission to live your life on your terms, not theirs. You owe them nothing. If you feel like you're putting in all the work just to stay relevant in their life, it's time to stop. They need to earn the privilege of your time and energy, not the other way around. When you're unpredictable, you're not just showing them that you're independent. You're teaching them that your time and presence are a gift, not an expectation. You flip the script. You make them work. And the truth is, people value what they have to work for. When they don't know where they stand with you, they can't get comfortable. They start fighting for your attention, like it's the last drop of water in the desert. But here's the emotional punch. Don't be afraid to lose them. I know it's scary to think that pulling back might push them away for good. But you know what? If they walk away when you stop chasing, they were never really yours to begin with. It's better to know now than waste your energy playing a losing game. Let them leave if they can't handle your unpredictability, because the right ones won't just stay, they'll chase. This isn't just about being mysterious. It's about being real. It's about having a life outside of them, a purpose beyond their validation. You don't have to broadcast every move you make. You don't need to explain yourself every time you say no. You owe no one consistency if it drains your soul. The moment you stop living for their expectations is the moment you become truly attractive. Here's what I want you to understand. Being unpredictable is not about being reckless. It's about being free. It's about living your life on your terms, moving in ways that keep others guessing. Not because you want to confuse them, but because you are too busy becoming the best version of yourself to fit neatly into anyone's expectations. So here's my challenge for you. Stop being predictable. Surprise them. Catch them off guard. Live your life in a way that makes them wonder what they've been missing out on. Disappear when they think you'll stay. Say no when they expect a yes. Be silent when they demand answers. Leave them in a constant state of curiosity, wondering how to keep up with someone who can't be pinned down. You are not their convenience. You are the storm they didn't see coming, the spark they never knew they needed. And trust me, they'll feel it when you become unpredictable. You'll notice how fast people start chasing what they once took for granted. Suddenly, you're no longer just an option. You become the obsession they can't shake. Before we go deeper, if this message resonates with you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because it's time to stop chasing and start becoming someone they can't stop thinking about. Let's make this transformation together. So drop this in the comments. I am unpredictable. Write it, own it, live it. Because the moment you stop living for their expectations is the moment they start living to meet yours. In today's video, we'll explore 7 ways that being unpredictable makes you more attractive and breaks the cycle of predictability that's kept you overlooked. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly how to become someone they can't ignore, someone they obsess over. Let's dive in. Number 1. You redefine what it means to be present. Have you ever wondered why the more you're there for someone, the less they seem to notice you? You believe that showing up every time, always being available, always saying yes, will make them appreciate you. But let me hit you with a hard truth. The more predictable your presence, the more invisible you become. They aren't ignoring you because you're unworthy. They're ignoring you because you've become a routine. And here's the thing. People don't value routines. They get bored by them. Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." If your presence is always guaranteed, it loses its meaning. Think about it. If you knew the sun would shine every day, would you still marvel at a sunrise? When people expect you to always be around, they stop appreciating you. You become a background presence in their life, always there, but never truly noticed. Predictability doesn't make you important. It makes you forgettable. And the worst part? You've been playing right into that trap, thinking that if you just keep showing up, they'll finally realize your worth. But they won't. Not like this. So let's break that pattern right now. Redefining what it means to be present isn't about disappearing forever. It's about showing up intentionally. It's about creating moments that hit harder because they're unexpected, moments that linger in their mind because they didn't see them coming. Presence isn't just about being there. It's about being felt. Think of it like music. If every note plays without pause, it's just noise. But the silence between the notes, that's what makes the music beautiful. Your presence works the same way. It's not about being constantly available. It's about showing up in ways that surprise them, ways that make them stop and take notice. This shift isn't easy. Every part of you will want to lean in to send that text, to make that call, to show them you still care. But you need to learn the art of restraint. Attraction thrives on tension, not on consistency, but on anticipation. When they're not sure when or how you'll show up next, they start paying attention. They'll wonder where you are, why you're not acting the way you used to, and that curiosity becomes their obsession. Picture this. You've been the one holding your relationship together, doing all the emotional heavy lifting. You remind them of important dates, initiate conversations, make the plans, and keep the spark alive. And how do they respond? With indifference. They assume you'll always be there because you always have been. But what happens when you stop? What happens when, instead of sending that usual good morning text, you say nothing? At first, they might shrug it off, thinking you're just busy. But when the silence stretches into hours, into days, their mind starts racing. They begin to wonder, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Are they pulling away? Suddenly, your absence speaks louder than your words ever did. Let me tell you this. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You've been trained to believe that if you pull back, they'll forget about you. You'll want to reach out, explain yourself, fill the silence. But you need to resist that urge. Silence isn't your enemy. It's your weapon. Think of it like pulling back a slingshot. The farther you pull back, the more powerful the release. And when you finally show up again, on your terms, they won't just notice, they'll feel it. Imagine you give someone a gold coin every single day. At first, they can't believe their luck. They cherish every coin. But after a while, they start expecting it. The coin isn't special anymore. It's just part of their routine. But what happens when one day you stop giving them that coin? At first, they might not think much of it. But as the days go by, as the coins stop coming, they begin to panic. Now, they crave that coin more than ever, not because they need it, but because they took it for granted. Your time and attention are that gold coin. Given too freely, they lose their value. But when you withhold them, they become priceless. This is your moment, your chance to stop being predictable and start becoming intentional. Being present isn't about showing up every time. It's about showing up when it matters. It's about becoming someone they can't predict, someone they have to work for, someone whose presence feels like a gift, not a given. And trust me, when your presence becomes rare, it becomes powerful. This won't happen overnight, and it won't be easy. But this is just the first step. We're only getting started. You can't shift your entire dynamic with just one change. This is a journey, and every step matters. Don't let the discomfort fool you into thinking you're on the wrong path. Transformation isn't supposed to feel easy. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens. Stick with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll be someone they never saw coming, someone they can't stop thinking about. You'll become the person they chase, the person they value, the one they never want to lose. But it starts here, with this first step. Don't click away. Don't look for shortcuts. Stay with me. Commit to this process and see it through. You owe it to yourself to stop being the one who chases and become the one who is chased. And to show me that you're serious about taking on this challenge, drop this affirmation by mentioning your name. Brian, you are unpredictable in the comments. Write it. Own it. Let me see who's ready to become the kind of person they can't stop thinking about, the kind of person worth chasing. This is just the beginning. Stay with me, because we've only scratched the surface, and the real transformation is still to come. Number 2, you break patterns. You break patterns and force them to chase. Do you ever feel like you're stuck in a loop? Like you're always the one reaching out? Always the one keeping the conversation going? Always the one putting in the effort? It's because you've fallen into a pattern, and here's the brutal truth. Patterns kill attraction. They know exactly what to expect from you, and that predictability has made you easy to overlook. You've become part of the background. But if you want to flip the script and make them chase you instead, you've got to break that pattern. There's a reason why excitement fades when everything becomes routine. The human brain craves novelty, and when you become predictable, you lose that spark. They don't have to work for your attention anymore because they've already cracked the code. They know exactly what you're going to do next, and that's why they've stopped chasing you. But when you disrupt that pattern, when you stop being predictable, you force them to stop and take notice. You shock their system. Think of it this way. When you always behave the same way, they fall into a rhythm. They've mapped you out, and in their mind, they're in control because they know you'll always be there. But what happens when you suddenly pull back? When you stop texting first? When you don't pick up the phone every time they call? You've broken the rhythm. Now, instead of feeling in control, they feel uneasy. They don't know where they stand with you anymore, and that's when the tables start to turn. When you break the pattern, you create tension, and that tension, that's where attraction lives. They start wondering, why haven't you called? Why aren't you showing up the way you used to? The moment they start questioning your behavior is the moment they start chasing you. The more you pull away from the predictable, the more they'll lean in to try and figure you out. Let me tell you a story. Imagine you're in a relationship that's become stale. You've been doing all the right things, calling every day, sending sweet texts, planning dates, and for a while, it worked. They were into it. But then, slowly, things changed. They stopped appreciating your efforts. They started taking you for granted, assuming that no matter what they did, you'd always be there. Sound familiar? Now imagine this. You stop. You don't call. You don't text. You disrupt the entire flow of your relationship. At first, they might not even notice. They're so used to you being the one keeping things going that they've stopped putting in the effort. But after a few days, that's when the shift begins. They start to wonder, why aren't you reaching out? What happened? The pattern they relied on is gone, and they're left feeling unbalanced. They start to miss you, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. Your silence is louder than any words. Here's the thing. Breaking pattern doesn't just make them notice you again. It makes them work for your attention. People value what they have to chase. When something or someone is always available, they stop feeling the need to earn it. But when you introduce unpredictability, you become something they have to work for again. They'll start wondering what they need to do to get your attention back. They'll chase the validation they once took for granted. You're probably thinking, but won't they just walk away if I pull back? Yes, that's a risk. But let me ask you this. Do you really want someone who only stays around because you're always there, always putting in the effort? No. You deserve someone who values you enough to fight for you, to chase after you, to put in the work. And trust me, when you break the pattern, you'll find out real quick who's willing to do that. Think of it like tug of war. If you're always the one pulling, eventually, they'll stop pulling back. But the moment you let go of the rope, they'll stumble. They'll feel the absence of your effort, and in that moment, they'll have two choices. Either pick up the slack and pull their weight, or let the connection fall apart. But here's the powerful part. You're no longer the one trying to hold everything together. You've shifted the responsibility onto them. Now it's their turn to make a move. Breaking patterns doesn't just force them to chase you, it forces them to reflect. When you pull back, they're left with themselves. They start to think about the dynamics between you two. They'll remember how you used to show up, and they'll compare that to the sudden absence of effort. They'll start asking themselves, why didn't I value you more when you were fully present? And that regret? It's a powerful motivator. This might feel difficult at first, especially if you're used to being the one who always keeps things going. But here's the hard truth. You can't keep pouring into someone who's not willing to meet you halfway. The longer you stay in that pattern, the less respect they'll have for your time and effort. Breaking the pattern isn't about playing games. It's about setting boundaries. It's about showing them and yourself that your time, your attention, and your energy are worth something. You are not there to be taken for granted. This is your chance to flip the script. You've been chasing long enough. Now it's time to make them chase you. And remember, this is just the second step. We're only getting started. You can't move the needle with just one change. You need to commit to the process. Stick with me. Don't fall back into old patterns. Break the cycle, force them to chase, and watch how quickly the dynamic shifts. Number 3. You become the puzzle they can't solve. Have you ever noticed how people quickly lose interest when they think they've figured you out? The moment they believe they know exactly how you'll act, what you'll say, and how you feel, you stop being intriguing. You become a routine. Familiarity might feel safe, but safety doesn't create desire. If they can predict your next move, there's no mystery left. And let me tell you this, attraction dies the moment curiosity is satisfied. People aren't drawn to what's easy to understand. They're drawn to puzzles they can't solve. Difficulty shows what men are made of. The unpredictable nature of someone challenges others, revealing who they are when they don't have control. When people face uncertainty, they're forced into self-reflection. They can't just coast. Instead, they get consumed by curiosity, drawn into the struggle of trying to decode you. The more difficult it becomes to predict you, the more obsessed they become with understanding who you are. Your unpredictability becomes the mirror that forces them to face their own doubts and insecurities. Think of it like a maze. The moment someone believes they found the exit, the game is over. But when they're lost in twists and dead ends, they become obsessed with finding their way out. They tell themselves they just need one more turn, one more clue, and the more they chase that solution, the more addicted they become. This is exactly how emotional attraction works. When you refuse to let them pin you down, you become the unsolved puzzle they can't leave alone. And that curiosity? It's powerful. It keeps them invested, coming back for more, even when they don't fully understand why. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The friction your unpredictability creates is exactly what makes you desirable. It leaves them uneasy, unsure of where they stand, but that discomfort is what keeps them coming back. Without challenges or trials, there's no growth, and without unpredictability, there's no emotional intrigue. Let me hit you with a relationship example. Let's say you've been trying to attract someone new. At first, they showed interest, but as time went on, they started acting cold, pulling away. Maybe you were always available, always giving them attention, thinking that consistency would win them over. But instead, it backfired. They grew comfortable knowing you'd always be there. So now, you flip the script. You stop initiating conversations. You don't react the way they expect. One day, you're warm and friendly. The next, you're quiet and distant. Now, they don't know where they stand with you, and suddenly, you've become a puzzle in their mind, a challenge they can't resist. This unpredictability makes them question themselves. Did I say something wrong? Why aren't they replying like before? They start overanalyzing every interaction, trying to figure out what shifted, and just like that, you've taken back control of the dynamic. The moment they thought they could predict you, you disappeared into the fog, and now they're the ones lost, trying to make sense of your actions, trying to regain the upper hand. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." When you're unpredictable, you leave them with imagined anxieties, constantly worrying if they've lost you or if they made a mistake. This mental tension is what keeps you in their thoughts. They'll try to find closure, but because you don't give them one, you become a constant presence in their mind. This isn't easy. You'll be tempted to fall back into old patterns, to explain yourself, to make things clear for them. You'll want to break the silence, fill the space, and give them closure. But don't. Puzzles aren't meant to be solved too quickly. If they knew exactly what was on your mind, they wouldn't crave you. It's the not knowing that keeps them hooked. And that silence they dread, that's your power. It makes them question everything and keeps them coming back, hoping this time they'll finally figure you out. Think of it like holding a string with someone tugging on the other end. If you let go too soon, the tension is lost and the game ends. But if you maintain that tension, keeping just enough distance to keep them wondering, they'll keep pulling, desperate to close the gap. And every pull only strengthens their emotional investment. You're not playing games. You're creating intrigue. You're teaching them that access to you isn't a given. You're not a puzzle they get to solve in a day or even a week. You're the mystery they'll chase, the one they'll think about when they least expect it, the person they can't stop wondering about. That's where attraction lives, in the unanswered questions, the unspoken words, and the subtle shifts they can't quite make sense of. This is just the beginning, and I need you to embrace this step fully. You are the puzzle they won't be able to solve, and that's what makes you unforgettable. But remember, this is just one piece of the bigger picture. You can't shift your life with just this step. We're just getting started, so kill the urge to click away. Stay with me, and let's unlock every part of what it means to be truly unforgettable. We put our heart and soul into bringing you life-changing content, and it would mean the world if you could press like and show your support. 50% of our viewers haven't subscribed yet, so if this video resonates with you, hit subscribe and turn on the bell to never miss an update. Your kindness keeps us going and helps us deliver more empowering insights. Let's grow together on this journey. You turn boredom into fascination. Have you ever noticed how quickly people lose interest when things become predictable? It's not because you're not good enough. It's because boredom kills attraction. People crave excitement, surprise, and spontaneity. If every interaction with you feels routine, They check out without even realizing it. But here's the powerful truth. You have the ability to turn boredom into fascination by becoming the person who keeps them guessing. Epicus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." If you want to be the kind of person people are drawn to, you need to shake things up. Boredom happens when people think they know what's coming next, but unpredictability sparks curiosity. When they never know how you'll act, what you'll say, or what energy you'll bring to the table, you become fascinating. They'll find themselves thinking about you at the most random moments, wondering what you'll do next. Turning boredom into fascination starts with breaking free from patterns. Stop following routines that make you predictable. Stop texting at the same time. Stop reacting the same way. If they expect you to always say yes, throw them off with a surprising no. When they think they know what's coming, switch directions. This keeps them on their toes, constantly recalculating how they should interact with you. And when someone has to work to understand you, that's when they become hooked. Think of it like a TV series. The ones that keep you guessing are the ones you binge until 3 a.m., right? You keep watching because each episode delivers something unexpected, something that leaves you wanting more. Now, imagine becoming that series in someone's life. Your unpredictability makes every interaction feel like a new episode, exciting, fresh, and impossible to ignore. This isn't about playing games. It's about learning how to make your presence feel like an adventure. When they see you as someone full of surprises, they'll naturally be drawn to you. They won't be able to put you in a box or predict your every move, and that's where fascination begins. It's not easy to change your patterns at first. You'll feel the urge to slip back into old habits, sending that text, planning that meetup, reacting just like you always have. But resist it. Be unpredictable, not just in action, but in energy. Surprise them with silence, show up with a new passion, or shift the dynamic when they least expect it. You force them to earn every interaction. Have you ever noticed how people stop appreciating what comes too easily? They'll take you for granted if they know your attention is guaranteed. The more freely you give, the less they value what you offer. It's not just about how much you care. It's about how accessible you make yourself. When your time, energy, and presence are handed out on demand, they start seeing you as an option, not a priority. But here's where the shift happens. When you force them to earn every interaction, everything changes. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The value of a person's attention is measured by its scarcity. If you're always available, responding the second they reach out, making time for them no matter what, then your attention loses its value. They assume you'll always be there, so they stop putting in effort. Why should they try when they know you'll make things easy for them? But the moment you stop handing out your energy for free, they feel the shift. You're no longer a convenience. They have to work to get your attention, and that work makes every interaction feel more meaningful. This isn't about playing games. It's about teaching people how to value you. Think of it like this. Imagine two people are given the same gift. One person receives it freely, without any effort. The other has to earn it, piece by piece, through time and commitment. Who will appreciate it more? It's not about withholding affection or being distant. It's about reminding them that your time is precious and that access to you is not a right, but a privilege. Every time they reach out, they need to know that it's not guaranteed you'll respond, or at least not right away. This creates a shift in how they approach you. Suddenly, your time feels rare, and rare things are cherished. Think about relationships where one person does all the chasing. They initiate every conversation, make all the plans, and constantly work to maintain the connection. The other person grows comfortable, complacent even, knowing they don't have to put in much effort. But when the chaser pulls back, things get interesting. Now the balance shifts. The person who never worked for the connection starts noticing the absence. They realize they're not getting the same energy they used to, and that triggers something powerful. They begin to pursue. This step isn't easy, especially if you're used to being the one who always shows up. You'll feel the temptation to step back in to keep things running smoothly, but here's where you need to stand firm. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In this case, your wealth lies in self-control. It's about training yourself to want less from others, so that when you give, it's intentional and meaningful. When they finally earn that interaction, it will carry more weight than 100 easy conversations ever could. You're not pulling away to manipulate or play hard to get. You're doing this because you understand your value. If someone wants your time, they have to show up for it. They have to meet you halfway, and they have to know that every interaction is earned, not expected. This shift teaches them to respect your boundaries and treasure the moments you share. So here's the challenge. Stop being so easy to reach. Make them work a little. Let them feel the absence of your constant attention. Force them to realize that every moment with you is a gift, not something they can assume will always be there. And when they do earn it, it will mean more to both of you. You spark their fear of replacement. Do you know what truly terrifies someone? The fear that you've moved on without them. When you become unpredictable, you stop being a constant presence, and in that void, something dangerous creeps into their mind. What if someone else takes my place? That's the spark, the fear of replacement. It's a fear so primal that it bypasses pride and logic. It hits them right in the gut. They might have taken you for granted when you were always available, but the moment you disappear, their mind spirals with insecurity. "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," said Seneca. This is the power of unpredictability. It forces them to imagine what they fear most. Even if nothing has changed on your end, their thoughts create a storm they can't escape. What if they found someone better? What if they've realized their worth? Every moment they used to ignore you becomes a haunting reminder of what they've lost and what someone else might now have. This fear doesn't just make them miss you, it lights a fire under them. They can no longer sit comfortably assuming you'll always be there. The second they realize you're not as predictable as they thought, they start to panic. They'll check your social media, wonder who you're spending time with, and obsess over whether you've moved on. In their mind, every small interaction you have with someone else feels like a threat. The idea of someone else getting the version of you they ignored drives them crazy. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This is exactly what unpredictability signals. You've stopped waiting for them and started demanding better. Whether or not you've actually found someone new doesn't matter. What matters is that you've created space for it to be possible, and that possibility terrifies them. You were once an option they thought they controlled, but now they realize you could be someone else's treasure. It's not easy to spark this fear. It takes discipline to pull back, especially when you're used to chasing their validation. You'll feel the urge to check in, to make sure they notice your absence, to give hints that you're still there. But here's where your power lies. Don't. The fear only grows when they have no certainty. Uncertainty is where attraction thrives. The moment they don't know where they stand with you, they lose their sense of control, and that's when the fear kicks in. Imagine a dance. You've always been the one stepping forward, meeting them halfway. Now, you step back. At first, they stand still, expecting you to return like you always have. But when you don't, they're forced to move forward, realizing they might have lost you for good. That fear doesn't just make them miss you, it forces them to act. They'll start showing up in ways they never did before, desperate to close the gap you created. And here's the truth. If they don't act, it only confirms they never deserved you. But if they do, it's on your terms. Now, the power has shifted. You are no longer the one begging to be noticed. You are the one they fear losing. You build a magnetic aura of self-respect. Have you ever noticed that people seem to treat you the way you treat yourself? That's because how you carry yourself sets the tone for how others see you. If you don't respect yourself, they won't either. But here's the twist. Real self-respect isn't loud. It's not about bragging or demanding attention. It's about how you move, how you make decisions, and most importantly, how you set boundaries without saying a word. That quiet confidence becomes magnetic, drawing people in without you lifting a finger. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts reflect self-doubt, insecurity, or a need for validation, that's the energy you project. People sense it immediately, but when your mind is grounded in self-respect, it shows. You walk differently, you speak differently, and without realizing it, people start gravitating toward you because they can feel it. Respect is contagious. Building a magnetic aura of self-respect begins with knowing your value and living by it. It's in the way you stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop justifying your actions to others. You start moving with purpose, doing things because you believe in them, not because you want approval. Every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce your worth. And here's the beautiful part. The less you try to be noticed, the more people notice you. In relationships, self-respect is often tested the most. Think about the times you've overextended yourself, gone out of your way to accommodate someone who didn't even seem to care. You thought that by giving more, you'd finally earn their respect. But it doesn't work that way. The more you chase, the more they run. Real self-respect means being willing to walk away when your boundaries are crossed. It means choosing yourself over someone who takes you for granted. And the moment you do that, everything changes. People start treating you differently because they know you're not someone to be taken lightly. Epictetus once said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That's the question you need to ask yourself every day. Self-respect isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose. It's not just about saying no to things that don't serve you. It's also about saying yes to the things that align with your value. When you build a life around your standards, people are drawn to that energy. They want to be part of what you've created, not because you beg them to be there, but because your aura pulls them in. This journey won't always be easy. There will be moments when choosing self-respect feels lonely, when it feels like pulling away might cost you connections. But here's the truth. You'll never lose the right people by respecting yourself. The ones who belong in your life will rise to meet your standards. The rest will fall away. And that's not a loss, that's alignment. So embrace this. Live with purpose. Respect your boundaries. And stop trying to prove yourself to anyone. The magnetic aura of self-respect isn't built in a day. but every small decision you make strengthens it. Stay with me on this journey because this is just one step. The real transformation is still unfolding, and we've got more work to do. You can't unlock your full potential by taking half measures. We put our heart and soul into delivering the best content for you, helping you unlock your potential and transform your life with every video. If this content has resonated with you, it would mean the world to us if you could press the like button and show your support. Your appreciation fuels our mission to bring you more impactful, life-changing insights. And here's a quick reminder, 50% of our viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you found value here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you never miss the latest video designed to empower and inspire you. We're in this journey together. Let's keep growing.